I've got a newly acquired Singer 206K that came to me with the timing all messed up and I needed to get it redone, so I thought I'd show you a couple things while I'm doing it. With mine, the inner part of the hook basket was stuck and the finger was out of place, so the whole thing was spinning around and that really wasn't helping issues. So I took this little side plate off here, 3 screws, and then I was able to get the center out, clean out the piece of thread and the lint that was stuck in there. Other things we got to notice, I went to set the needle bar height, and there's only one set screw here that's locking that in place. So this definitely isn't quite as robust as some of the other machines. I'm gonna have to set the lower height, I'm going to have to move that up so that it just lines up with the top notch with the wheel all the way down. Okay, we're going to try it just like this. So that mark lines up with that little feeler gauge. When we go to install the hook basket on the bottom, there's 3 set screws that hold it in place. The shaft that they attach to is completely round. There's no flat on it, so we're going to have to make sure we get those screws in there tight so that it doesn't slip, because it's adjustable both lengthwise to get the hook distance from the needle and rotation for the timing. So we'll have to get that set up. I'm trying to set the distance between the hook and the needle. The service manual that doesn't have anywhere near enough pictures says you want the hook as close to the pocket of the needle as you can get it without touching. And now I'm too far back, so I'm going to have to move that basket forward a little bit. Do that. There we go. That's pretty close. That'll give me just a little bit in case the needle flexes a tiny bit. We'll try it that way. Now to set the rotation, you want to move the timing mark up to the second mark, because that's the return stroke where the hook should grab the thread from the needle. And it says we want the hook to be directly behind the needle in the pocket, and it looks like I need to go counterclockwise just a hair. So this is where we want to be. We're at the lower timing mark on the needle bar, and on the needle, the hook is directly in the pocket where it can catch the top thread. So now I just need to lock down those set screws, go all the way around, snug them down tight, make sure we're still where we need to be. Okay, rookie mistake. When I set that mark on the needle bar, I set it on the downstroke. It needs to be on the upstroke where it hits the second mark. So let me redo that, because now it's crashing. Okay, after fiddling around a bit, I got it where it should be. So the hook comes up in the pocket behind the needle, as close behind as you can get with each stroke. I'm finding out that it's not quite as precise as I would have expected. I think maybe because part of it is the way it's timed by the canvas belt, which may not be exactly perfect. But then I got to thinking, once you switch it to zigzag mode, the position of the needle is going to be so wildly different anyway that you're changing almost 1/4 of an inch of where that relationship is as it comes up each time. So it may not matter that it's not terribly precise. I'll have to put her back together and see how it sounds. Now that I have the hook timing correct, I was able to run the machine without anything crashing up until I put the bobbin case in. And what I'm running into now is at the left position the needle is okay, but at the right position, when the needle comes down, I'm crashing into the bobbin case. and I could fiddle around with putting a set screw on the stopper to maybe stop it, but then you run the risk of operator error and somebody doing it wrong. I did a little more research, and the conclusion I came to is that this isn't the correct bobbin case. Thinking it's actually a 96 bobbin case from a more modern industrial machine, whereas a 206 bobbin case, the little notches in the corners are more direct. I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I think the least destructive option is to modify that bobbin case a little bit just by cutting the corners back, rather than modifying the machine, which might be something I'll regret later. So let me trim that back and we'll see what happens. Alright, I trimmed back that side of the bobbin case until I was fairly confident I had enough clearance, because there's a little bit of slop in this mechanism. I was worried that at speed it might move enough that it would catch. So I trimmed back that side, and I think we're good now. The other side, there's a lot of clearance. I never worried about that side. The way this is set up, there's that little finger there that locates that whole assembly, but you can't adjust that laterally because it's in a vertical slot. And mine, it looks like the whole thing is canted to the left a little bit, and I wish I could adjust that to the right and straighten it up, but there's really no adjustment for that. So I think just trimming this bobbin case is going to do what we need to do. So this is how much I needed to take out of that bobbin case to get that little bit of clearance. It's not a lot, but it was just enough. And I don't feel too bad about wrecking a bobbin case. They're not that difficult to replace. So let's thread it up and see what it does. When you're first setting the bobbin thread, you want to keep it pulled out straight here. If you let it lay down, it gets caught by the hook and then it's a mess. So we turn this around, needle comes down, white thread on top gets caught by the hook, gets pulled around, goes back over the top. One thing to notice is that when the thread goes back up, it has to pull through that notch where that finger is. Before I read the service manual, I had that pulled down tight, and the inner part of the hook assembly was binding up terrible. The manual says you got to leave a 1/64 of an inch in there, and now we know why, because the thread has to pass through there. That's a little different. Okay, let's thread this up and see what happens. Spool on the top coming from the back. Here we go down and then up. Then around the tension, under the take-up spring, under the bar, through the take-up lever, here, back to front, back to front. Last clamp, you want to go left to right, then through the needle. Excellent. Underneath, down, bring up the bobbin thread. Excellent. Okay, there we go. Had to fiddle with the top tension and the bottom tension a little bit, but I think we got it. Let's go. There we go. No problem. Back in business.